Hey, and welcome into the Big Ten Huddle, where I'm your host, JR. We're presented and brought to you by FanDuel, and appreciate you tuning in to listen to the Big Ten Huddle every single day. Seriously, we hardly ever take a day off here and love talking Big Ten basketball and football with you. A lot of football in this episode for you today. Not a whole lot going on in basketball other than Jeremy Fears and everything else going on with Michigan State, and who really wants to talk about that? So we're going to talk about some football in this one. If you like Big Ten basketball and football too, hit that like and subscribe button. Be sure to comment your thoughts on YouTube or give us a 5-star rating and review on podcast platform you're listening to. Do that so you can be entered into winning some free apparel from Home Field, my favorite place to shop for me and you as well. At the end of the month, I'll pick one person who comments on any video in February, and every time you watch a video, just go ahead and comment. That'll enter you in more times. If you leave a comment, you get a better chance to win some free Home Field. If you can't wait and you just want, you got to have it right now, I get it. Use the link below in the description. All right, a lot to get to in this Friday episode. We have Big Ten coaches off to the NFL. My all-returning Big Ten offense. We'll get to the defense later on, but my all-returning Big Ten offense and the SEC, they were bragging about their TV money yesterday, but I'm not sure it's as good as they might think it is. We'll talk all about it, and thank you so much for being here. Let's do this thing. All right, there we go. The NFL did a raid on Big Ten assistant coaches, and all I can say is I hope it's over. Time will tell, but so far in 2026, we've seen a wave of talented assistants jump ship from the Big Ten to the Pro League, the NFL, obviously, where everybody's trying to get, no, not everybody, but a lot of coaches, a lot of players trying to get to. It's a testament to the quality of coaching in the Big Ten, but it also leaves some programs scrambling to fill some voids. We're talking about 7 key departures: Lou Esposito from Michigan, Miles Taylor from Nebraska, Noah Pauley from Penn State, Chandler Whitmer from Indiana, Mike Bajakian, I think is how you pronounce it. I apologize if that's wrong, from Michigan State, Bobby April III from Minnesota, and finally, yes, Eric Henderson, the guy right next to me, from USC. But not all losses are created equal. Some sting more than others, depending on the coach's impact, the program's depth, and how quickly they can rebound from the situation. So in this video, I'm going to rank these losses from least impactful to most impactful. That's from number 7 down to number 1. We'll break down who they are, where they're going, and why this departure hurts or doesn't hurt their former team. Starting at number 7, the least impactful loss in my books. Indiana fans, that's right, Chandler Whitmer, who was the co-offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach at Indiana, now heading to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as their new quarterback coach. And you might be saying, JR, dude, he just coached the guy that won the Heisman. Like, how is this not impactful? How is this not a loss for Indiana? He did a great job this season. Look, Whitmer is arguably one of the most talented coaches on this entire list. He's got a sharp mind for the game, very little experience, though, developing quarterbacks. It was actually his first quarterback coaching job, but he created a Heisman winner in his very first year. I mean, that's pretty good odds there, right? You could say that, and people will be very impressed there for a while. But here's why. But here's why this ranks as the least impactful loss, in my opinion. Indiana's quarterback room is in very solid hands, even without him. They've already brought in Tino Sunseri, who was excellent for them 2 years ago. Sure, last year at UCLA wasn't Sunseri's best, but under Cignetti's system, the Hoosiers have consistently produced strong quarterback play, regardless of who's calling the shots in that room. And of course, in that room, Tino Sunseri going to have the best hair of anybody in that room. I'm really sad we didn't get to see Bob Chesney and Tino Sunseri on the sideline together. Would have been a great hair sideline for sure. Cignetti has a proven track record. I mean, you look at his time at James Madison or even his earlier stops, Elon, IUP, all these different places. His offenses hum because of his overarching philosophy and how he is able to build up and develop his quarterbacks. It's not just one assistant. Whitmer's departure might cause a brief hiccup in continuity a little bit, but it's not like Indiana is losing their offensive identity by any means. Fans might miss him some but with Sinceri stepping in seamlessly, this feels more like a lateral move for the program than a devastating blow. Plus, the NFL gig is so huge; it's such a huge step up for Whitmer. Personally, I mean, congratulations to the guy. You earned it. Great job. He's going to the NFL, where he came from anyway. Overall, Indiana fans, you can rest, breathe easy. This isn't a rebuild. This isn't a reload. Impact level, this is pretty low. The Hoosiers will be just fine come this fall. Moving up the ladder now to number 6, Mike Bajakian. Again, I think that's how you pronounce it. The former quarterbacks coach at Michigan State, who's now with the Cleveland Browns in the same role. Mike brought in a wealth of experience to East Lansing, having worked under a lot of different coaches, and now he's there with Pat Fitzgerald. He was with Pat Fitzgerald at Northwestern. Now he's here with him, or he was here with him again at Michigan State. His resume includes stints in the NFL, in college. That said, Spartan fans weren't exactly throwing parades when he was hired. He has a lot of stops, but it doesn't mean every single stop was uber successful. There was some skepticism about whether he was the splashy addition the program needed. After kind of a turbulent offseason, firing the coach, bringing in the new head coach. And honestly, losing him isn't the end of the world. Michigan State moved quickly to hire John McNulty as his replacement. And it seems like head coach Pat Fitzgerald, he had a contingency plan ready here. The quick pivot suggests they weren't caught off guard, and McNulty brings his own pedigree that could even be an upgrade in some eyes. And number 5, we have Bobby April III, who served as the rush ends coach at Minnesota and is now the outside linebackers coach for the Buffalo Bills. April comes from a coaching family. His dad was a special teams guru in the NFL, spent some time in college as well. He's built a reputation for developing edge rushers with technique and relentlessness. At Minnesota, he didn't contribute much, as he was only there for about a month. I think he got hired in January. Now he's gone in February. This one could arguably tie with the next one on this list for low impact, but I slotted this here less impact because PJ Fleck, he's really good at assembling his staff. He does a great job making savvy hires, kind of being able to plug holes and bring guys in. It's a culture that a lot of guys work well under. So April's departure, it's fresh, similar to others. He hadn't been there long enough to become irreplaceable. So it's number 5 for me. And like I said, number 4 is not all that far away either. Miles Taylor, the safety coach who just arrived at Nebraska in January, only to be snatched up by the Baltimore Ravens as their assistant defensive backs coach. Taylor's background is impressive. He got NFL ties and a knack for teaching coverage skills, anticipation, and tackling in space. Nebraska had a good amount of excitement, as they should, with a guy like Miles Taylor, but timing is everything here. Taylor had barely unpacked his bag before heading off to the pros, just like April and some other guys as well. But with so little time invested, this loss isn't that much. So we'll see how Matt Rule decides to replace him and how that all goes. But I'm pretty confident they'll be able to find somebody else to replace him, and we'll see who that is eventually. Climbing to number 3, Lou Esposito, Michigan's defensive line coach, now with the Baltimore Ravens in the same position. Esposito did stellar work 2 years ago, molding that ferocious front following Michigan's national championship run. He had guys like Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant that thrived under his guidance, benefiting from his emphasis on technique, strength, and gap discipline. However, some argue that he inherited an already loaded room. The talent was already there when he arrived. And so last year, you look at the production and what it was, and it held steady. It was fine. It wasn't anything, amazing. But last year, the production just kind of was there. It held steady. It honestly got worse, but you didn't have 2 first rounders on your offensive line anymore. So it wasn't the same. It was more about consistency, had some injuries, some scheme tweaks, different stuff like that. Keeping him would have been ideal for continuity. And I do think Esposito is a good defensive line coach, especially with Michigan's defensive identity, but not for a catastrophic loss. Kyle Whittingham has options, and the Wolverines number and the Wolverines recruiting pipeline ensures the defensive line. It's It's going to be fine. It's going to remain elite. They got other guys in that room. I think they'll be good this year. Number two, we got two guys left. Number two, I'm going to go with Eric Henderson, USC's defensive line coach, who is heading to the Washington Commanders as defensive line coach and defensive run game coordinator. Henderson was a fan favorite in Los Angeles, widely praised for his turning around the Trojans' front. Under Lincoln Riley, he brought intensity. He had innovation and did a great job in recruiting as well. A lot of people love the recruiting idea and how good of a recruiter he was and everything. Now, there were rumors of his departure swirling for the last week or two, so it wasn't, a total shock. It wasn't a total shock, but that being said, his energy and results made him a staple. Patterson likely had a solid replacement lined up and everything, but losing a widely liked coach stings in the team morale and recruiting a little bit, possibly. We'll see how it goes there, but Henderson's job with the D-line was strong, addressing past weaknesses. And then finally, the number one most missed one. Sorry, Penn State fans. That's right. The most impactful loss is Noah Pauley, Penn State's wide receiver coach who came over with Matt Campbell there to Penn State. Now, with the Green Bay Packers in the same role, Penn State has been desperate for some elite wide receiver production for years. Really, ever since Jahan Dotson. It's not been great. Pauley was getting ready to change that with his track record of development. He has always been able to turn raw talent into polished receivers, playmakers. Losing him hurts deeply because Matt Campbell's offense does crave a lot of explosiveness. You need wide receivers to be able to get down the field and get those guys and have good route running, all that stuff. Sure, whoever steps in, I'm sure they'll be competent. Matt Campbell's good at hiring dudes. I'm sure they'll be fine, but Pauley's excellence was hard won. This could set back the Nittany Lions passing game just a little bit this season, just as they're kind of trying to push for the playoffs with a more favorable schedule this year. There you have it, folks. The Big Ten's 2026 NFL coaching exodus, ranked from least to most impactful. These moves highlight, the conference has a big talent pool, a lot of guys in it, but it's also a challenge because you got to hold on to these guys too. So what do you think? Drop your takes in the comments and let me know who you'll be missing. If there's anybody that was here that was on your team, we'll be right back after this. Now, the Big Ten added a ton of talent in the transfer portal, but what about the guys who are returning? Who are some of the top returning players by position on offense? Well, I have them on my all-returning Big Ten offense for 2026 season. We'll do defense in another video, but for this one, I wanted to focus on those guys coming back to the Big Ten next season. Now, before we get into the picks, let's lay some ground rules, okay? Let me give you a little backstory on how this came together. I got the initial idea from the Cover 3 podcast. Love that podcast. They do a great job, even though Bud Elliott, he wasn't always the Indiana believer or anything, right? He's a little bit of an Indiana hater at first, kind of compared him to Ole Miss, talked about the schedule. I think he's learned his lesson now. Most people have at this point. So I think he's coming around. But I adjusted their idea a bit to fit what I think makes sense for the Big Ten landscape heading into next season. The key rule here is that these players must be returning to the same Big Ten school in 2026. I'm not saying no transfers count. I'm saying transfers in this year don't count. All right. So even if they're staying in the conference, though, it doesn't matter, right? You have to be returning to the same team you were at. For example, a talented wideout like Nick Marsh would have been on this list if I did it one way, but he bounced from one Big Ten team to another, so he wouldn't be eligible. He's still in the Big Ten. That's great. Sure, but not with the same team that he was on last year. So we're going to talk about guys who are coming back for more. And let's get into that. So let's break this down position by position. We got to start with the quarterback position. I'll tell you who I picked, why they're there, and some of these I'll give you some guys that I thought of as well that could have possibly been there. So, okay, starting quarterback. My pick with this one, I think I'm going to get some pushback in the comment section. That's fine. Go ahead and give it to me. I'm going to pick Julian Sayin from Ohio State. What a season this kid had in 2025, especially as a redshirt freshman, sophomore, whatever you want to call him. Sayin stepped up big after Will Howard won a national championship last year, and he led the Buckeyes to an undefeated season, right back to the playoffs with his accuracy and precision. He's got the rare combo of arm talent and decision-making that separates the elites from the rest. He was a Heisman finalist as a redshirt freshman, throwing for over 3,500 yards. He had 32 touchdown passes and only 8 interceptions across the regular season and playoffs combined. His completion percentage was an outstanding 77%, and he was deadly between the 40s in the middle of the field there. Between the 40s, he was throwing for 84% in the middle of the field. But it wasn't all smooth, okay? Julian Sayin, great quarterback. He had some rough patches as well, like that Miami game in the playoffs where the Hurricanes pressured him a lot. He had the pick six, which was really just a better play by the corner or the nickel than it was a bad play by Sayin. But still, you never want that to happen. So, against Indiana, the secondary dropping 8-7 guys into coverage really disrupted him. And still, he had some outstanding throws and showed some good talent in that game. And actually, they were able to move the ball pretty well against Indiana, considering they only scored 10 points. I also considered Dante Moore here out of Oregon, as he was a close second. He's electric. 3,500 plus yards, 30 passing touchdowns. But Moore had some inconsistencies on third down where his conversion rate dipped for a bit in the season. And he struggled against Indiana's defense, plus Texas Tech in the playoffs. That was a clunky offensive game as well. I don't think you can look at Julian Sayin and say, like, oh, he struggled, but not say Dante Moore struggled too. So I think both of them are great. I could go with either one. The third one that I thought about too, and don't sleep on him. I mean, Jada Mayava, I see him as a top 5 returning QB in all of college football next year. Excuse me. I know some people disagree with that, but he threw for 3,700 yards. And although he had his struggles on the road at times last year, he's still a very good QB who I think Riley will have fun with for just one more year. He's got the dual threat ability. He's dangerous, but I felt like Moore and Sayin edged him out in pure passing efficiency. Any of these three, honestly, could lead a playoff run, and Sayin gets the nod for his Heisman level play. So that's kind of where I'm at on it. Let me know what you think, and if you choose one of those three or somebody else in the conference. Moving on to running back, where the Big Ten is loaded with bruisers, versatile backs, speed backs. But my duo for this one is a couple guys who were freshmen last year. Bo Jackson from Ohio State and Jordon Davison from Oregon. First, Bo Jackson, yes, that name carries a lot of weight, and believe me, this guy lived up to it in 2025. He's a powerful 6'1", nearly 220 pounds with really good vision, patience behind the line, allows the blocks to develop before exploding through the hole, and he utilizes his agility really well too. If you look at that Michigan play where he kind of juked the guy out of his shoes, he almost juked out 2 guys, but stats-wise, he rushed for over 1,000 yards last season, not even starting until later in the season. He had 6+ yards per carry with a huge game against Michigan. Also was a receiving threat this year, 19 catches, 200 yards, and a couple of scores as well. Jackson's ability to grind out tough yards in the Big Ten makes him indispensable for Ohio State's balanced attack. Pairing him with Jordon Davison in an offense from Oregon would be awesome. Jordon Davison is an every down back. Davison burst into the scene as a true freshman star, but shared the rock a lot. And honestly, he was a really good pass blocker too. That's something that really stuck out to me with how good he was. He rushed this season for less than 700 yards, 667, but he had 15 touchdowns and averaged 5.9 yards per carry, as he did a lot of the short yardage situations. He's excellent in short yardage. He averaged 2.4 yards per carry on third or fourth down from 1 or 2 yards away. In the red zone, he was unstoppable, scored 12 times inside the 20. Together, Jackson and Davison form a thunder and lightning type of combo that could terrorize defenses. I'm really excited to see him next to Deer Hill next season. Now, wide receivers, this position is stacked as per usual in the Big Ten. My first pick, obviously, Jeremiah Smith from Ohio State. Then I'm going to go with Charlie Becker from Indiana and KJ Duff from Rutgers. Starting with Jeremiah Smith, the Buckeyes star, already drawing tons of NFL interest. He could go to the draft right now if he was eligible to, but 6'3", 215 pounds. He's a mismatch nightmare with his route running precision, contested catch ability, In 2025, he hauled in 87 receptions for over 1,200 yards and had 12 touchdowns, including a ridiculous 6-catch, 123-yard performance against Penn State, where he had a couple scores in that one as well. Smith's yards after catch averaging 8 per reception, turning slants into big plays. He's able to make that happen. His hands are kind of glue-like. Now, he's had a couple drops here and there. He had 2 last season, but he's the alpha wide receiver, and so is Charlie Becker from Indiana. He brings that big play flair. He's a deep threat with his long limbs, going up, being able to make the catches over dudes. Just an incredible possession receiver. Becker didn't have the craziest stats in the world in 2025, but he did have an average of 20 yards per reception. He consistently made clutch catches for Indiana all season long. And as just a sophomore with more experience than guys in the room, they decided to go to him in the national championship game to help seal the game. Remember that 4th down catch he had? It was so clutch. He was excellent. You love to see it. Now, final wide receiver, rounding out the trio, KJ Duff from Rutgers, big, strong, athletic wide receiver who got overshadowed a bit by Ian Strong, but Duff was excellent last year too, had the big 200-plus yard game. He is 6'6", 225 pounds. He's a monster out there, all right? 60 receptions, over 1,000 yards, and 7 touchdowns. Duff was excellent last year and deserves a lot of credit. Tight end is pretty straightforward for me. Jamari Johnson from Oregon. And honestly, no one else came close. Like, I don't even think I need to mention anybody else here. Johnson's a hybrid beast, 6'5", 250 pounds with receiver-like speed, blocking chops. And Johnson spent the 2025 season playing behind Kenyon Sadiq a lot, serving as the primary backup before his role eventually expanded dramatically as the year went on. And as injuries mounted at wide receiver, and, Kenyon Sadiq was out for, I believe, a game or two as well, Johnson became a big part of the passing game and finished as Oregon's most productive one of Oregon's most productive offensive players. He caught 32 passes for 510 yards and had 3 touchdowns, serving as a security blanket in the passing game. And according to some NFL draft experts, Johnson would currently be ranked as the number 2 tight end in the 2026 NFL draft class if he had declared. But instead of testing the waters, Johnson has announced he's returning to Eugene for the 2026 season, choosing development and a featured role over an already strong draft projection. So let's go over to the offensive line. At this point, not going to spend as much time on these guys, but do want to give them their flowers. All right. So Carter Smith from Indiana and Trevor Lauk from Iowa are my offensive tackles. Carter Smith named Big Ten Offensive Lineman of the Year. Can't go away from that. So I'm going to put him on there. He was the first IU player to ever receive that honor. That's pretty special. Smith graded as the Big Ten's best overall offensive lineman in 2025, according to PFF. He did not allow a single sack in the regular season. He's 6'5", 313 pounds, and a 3-year starter at left tackle, taking over the full-time lead role as a redshirt freshman in 2023. He's now grown into what I believe is the best tackle of in college football, at least entering into the season. Smith has appeared in 42 games. He has 40 starts, including 38 consecutive starts at left tackle. Next one is Trevor Lauk from Iowa. He is the Mauler type, right? Physical, nasty in the trenches. Lauk was one of the best offensive tackles in the country this past season. His play last year was extremely clean. You watch it on the game film, you watch it on the tape, however you watch it, extremely clean. He allowed only 5 pressures all season and showed great body control in doing so. For offensive guards, I have Drew Evans from Indiana and I know, but Kaden Pieper from Iowa. I know he's going to likely shift to center next season, but he dominated as a guard in 2025. So let me give him his time. Okay, I got another guy that's a good center too that I don't want to have to fight over them. So just let me do it. Okay. Start with Evans. Evans is explosive off the snap, pulling on counters, creating holes. He is one of the best run blockers in the country, helped Indiana rush for over 1,800 yards as a unit. In pass pro, just 2 pressures were allowed all year long. Cade Pieper is one of the most underrated players in the country. Switching over to him now. He's smart, diagnoses stunts, twists. He's one of the best athletes along the offensive line. And I don't think a lot of people know this, but according to Bruce Feldman's freak list, Pieper recorded a 4.13 second shuttle. Ridiculous for a guy his size. Absolutely ridiculous. And a 37.4-inch vertical jump. That would be the fastest shuttle and the second highest vertical jump in the NFL scouting combine history for that position. If he replicated that in injury, you could tell this year he would have been highly coveted, but he elects to come back to college, and so we're going to put him on the list. Finally, center from Oregon, Poncho. Listen, I can't do the name, all right? I don't want to disrespect him by saying the name wrong, so I'm just going to say Poncho from Oregon. Poncho's the brains of the operation. He's an exceptional anchor, has great hand technique, natural leverage, does a good job getting the advantage and completely stalls pass rushers. With extensive experience at centers, he combines high-level mental processing of the blitz and has a nasty demeanor as well. So finishing blocks to dominate opponents. He's a vet with a combination of technical skill and physical power, making him very, very reliable. Wrapping this up, folks, that's my all-returning Big Ten offense for 2026. Be on the lookout for the defense coming out next, which this is the powerhouse team on paper. From Sayin's arm to the offensive line's grit, I'll be honest, I think this offense could win you a national championship. Obviously the Big Ten can, so why can't this offense, right? The conference is evolving with all the realignment, but talent like this keeps being elite. What do you think of my selections? Drop your comments down below. Who did I snub? Hit that like button, subscribe for more Big Ten breakdowns. I'll be right back for the next segment. ESPN just shared their financial numbers for 2025. Some people are excited about how much money the Southeastern Conference, SEC, is making, but it's actually not as impressive when you compare it to what Big Ten schools are projected to earn here soon. But first, let's start with the SEC. What's happening with them and ESPN? So the SEC shared on Thursday that they had $1.03 billion in total funds to its school this year. That's more than 200 million. That's more than that's more than they had last year. About a 200 million jump from last year. Because the SEC filed their taxes earlier in the Big Ten, they are technically the first conference to cross the $1 billion threshold. So good for them, of course. Congrats, Sankey. Great job, whatever. The amount distributed from the conference office, including bowl revenue retained by participants, averaged $72.4 million for each school with full year financial participation. Obviously, Texas and Oklahoma didn't get all of that because they're just brand new. But of course, this all sounds great and good for the SEC, but here's the issue. Many national media members are avoiding talking about all the things around it because they love to bow down and prop up the SEC. But just because the SEC made a lot of money doesn't mean that ESPN did as well. You see, it's really important for ESPN to make money as the SEC makes more money as well, because ESPN is the one foot in the bill here. They're the ones paying the rights fees. They're the ones paying SEC, so that way they can put the games on their network. The one paying to broadcast and stream the games. But if they don't make money, they won't pay more money for the SEC, which is what's happening here a little bit. All right. You can go check these numbers yourself. Go out there and look for it. They're out there. I mean, at ESPN, they share it and it's all out there. ESPN pays the SEC a lot of money in rights fees to broadcast their games on TV and streaming. And They paid them a lot more this time, which is why the SEC started making more. This includes every SEC football game, their own SEC network channel, and games from new teams like Texas and Oklahoma. ESPN has been in this deal for 2 seasons now. We know this because Disney, the owner of ESPN, has also released their latest earnings report in the sports part, which is mostly ESPN. I mean, that's pretty much what Disney has there at ESPN. That part only grew their incoming money, also known as their revenue, by 1% compared to last year. In the TV world, that's a tiny, tiny bit of growth. But the bigger issue for them is that ESPN's costs are skyrocketing, especially the rights fees. They're paying for college football. In simple terms, ESPN is spending more money to show SEC games, but they're not making much more money. It's bad business. Their revenue increased, but not enough to justify continuing to spend on the SEC because right now they have all the SEC content that's available to them with Texas, Oklahoma added to them. They have their own network and everything else. Now, perhaps they could do more with the content in the future, or they could spend less on the rights fees. And but the numbers Disney is giving us, if they're correct, which I assume they are, if they're correct, I don't see them increasing what they're going to pay to the SEC anytime soon, at least substantially. This means the profits for the SEC deal aren't growing like ESPN hoped, and they signed the contract. So ESPN has basically squeezed all of the profit they can from the SEC, and the SEC's fans are passionate, which makes, a lot of them watch down south and everything. That helps with ratings and the numbers people are tuning in for it and everything. But it's not just about tuning into this huge it's not just about eyeballs tuning in that creates a huge extra profit for ESPN anymore. The costs are too high and the growth has stopped. So ESPN can't rely on the SEC alone for future money making, which is why I referenced in a previous video about the Big Ten's future with Fox and Big Noon Kickoff. That's where the Big Ten comes in as a better opportunity. The Big Ten, 18 schools spread across the country, nationwide footprint, we've talked about this, has been making more money per school, and that trend only looks like it's going to continue. Our current, the Big Ten's current TV deal is with networks like Fox, NBC, CBS, and the streaming platform, which is with NBC, Peacock, right? That ends in 2030. We'll see we will see later on in May what the numbers are for this deal, because like I said, the Big Ten, they filed their taxes in May. The SEC, they filed theirs in February, so they technically get it back. But we'll see what these numbers add up to be in May. I'm expecting anywhere from probably 75 million to 80 million for each Big Ten school, with the Big Ten surpassing the $1 billion threshold as well. But this deal for the Big Ten ends 4 years before the SEC's deal does with ESPN, which ends in 2034. This timing is huge. The Big Ten gets to negotiate a new deal first, and multiple networks will compete to pay the Big Ten for their games. They've already seen how valuable the Big Ten content is. Fox is already announcing that in 2025, they achieved record-breaking ad revenue for college football regular season. Look, I'm just going to go on and guess Colorado wasn't the record breakers this year, okay? It wasn't Colorado. It was Big Ten, right? Big Ten is where they put all their money at. It's where they have all their games at, Big Noon Kickoff, all that stuff. So why is the Big Ten so much more valuable, even though they have worse TV ratings during the regular season? Well, when you look at the media markets they're in, the Big Ten has teams in massive cities, right? Los Angeles, the New York area, Chicago, Philadelphia, Detroit, Minneapolis. I mean, Columbus. It's not the largest media market in the world, but boy, do they love their football. They are always watching their football out there. In Madison, that's over 60 million people in key areas where big companies want to be advertising. The SEC is strong in the South, no doubt about that. They're strong in the South. but it doesn't reach the big kind of coastal city to city as the Big Ten is able to do. Big Ten games attract viewers from all over the country, often wealthier, often more diverse. That means that they can advertise national high-end products that will yield more of a profit for them. This makes the Big Ten audiences more attractive to advertisers. Maybe there's less of them, but they're still more attractive to advertise to. Who pay higher rates to help reach those people. So plus, Big Ten deals work well across TV, streaming, and other platforms, helping networks generate more revenue. It's not just about raw viewership numbers and who watches the most. The SEC often has the highest rated regular season games because of their dedicated Southern fans, right? If you look at, for example, a big SEC game in a place like Tuscaloosa, Alabama, or Baton Rouge, where LSU is, they draw huge local crowds. They might have some national crowds too, because of the magnitude of the game, if it's a big ranked matchup or something like that. But the home base of the viewership is more targeted, right? It's more reliable, it's more consistent. So those numbers don't always mean more profit for the network. Why? Because profits depend on things like demographics, right? Who are your viewers? Age, income, race, location, all those types of things. Ad efficiency, how well do ads perform, and how much networks can charge for those ads, right? Cross-platform engagement. How many people are watching on TV? How many people are watching on an app? How many people are watching on their computer, online, whatever, their tablet, whatever it might be. And you also got cost per viewer. How much it costs for the network to get each person watching compared to what they earn. The Big Ten excels here. This is where they knock it out of the park. This is where they kill it. Their games reach people in high value markets, so networks make better margins, also known as profits, even if the total viewers aren't always the absolute highest. National reporters often, say, "Oh, the SEC has the top watched games, the best games, all these things," without ever explaining the bigger picture of it all. I mean, I hate to call people out, but they do it all the time. It's guys like Andy Staples, Stuart Mandel, Zach Barnett. They are honestly, these guys are kind of the worst about it, and they know they're doing it. They know what they're doing. Honestly, I hate to say like don't listen to them. I'm not advocating for you to like stop listening to them or anything, but I would just say to be careful what you hear and see, and make sure you do your own research as well. Obviously they're going to produce content, and that's what they're supposed to do. But make sure you do your own research outside of that as well. Concentrated viewership in one region doesn't always translate into higher profits when rights fees are already so expensive. The SEC is stuck until ESPN until 2034, and can't easily switch or create their own TV setup to make more money. Their games are popular, but it's mostly tied to traditional TV bundles, and it's hard to grow beyond that. The Big Ten is different. We've shown that we can add real value to multiple networks. Experts predict that experts predict the Big Ten's last deal correctly, and now they're saying that starting in 2023, it could be north of $2 billion, how much they're able to make off of this per year. So with 18 total schools, that means schools are possibly going to receive, close to 100 million payout and stuff like that per school each year, just from the new TV deal. So for comparison, right now in 2025, Big Ten schools are getting about 70 to 80 million each year from the current deal, which is ramping up. I don't think it'll be all the way down at 70. I still think that your average school in the Big Ten will make more than the average school in the SEC. That's more than what the SEC is getting today. Reports from May 2025 showed the Big Ten was a little bit lower than that, but you can expect that to grow, get higher. And now with all 18 teams and new game times, it's even higher. ESPN's recent numbers show that networks are still willing to pay big top dollar for the top sports content, but the SEC deal is squeezing their profits. This makes the Big Ten's projection look even better. We could exceed expectations. We could get even higher than some of the stuff that I'm talking about here. We'll see, because right now the projections only include the current setup of the conference by 2030. Our four newest schools, they get full shares. Yes, that'll impact things. The conference, span across the country, proven national appeal. But what if the Big Ten adds more, right? What if the Big Ten gets into Florida? What if they get in North Carolina? What if they get into Texas? What if they nab Texas A&M or something like that? This extra money helps with real things that make the conference strong: upgrading stadiums, better facilities, keeping top-notch coaches, sharing revenue with athletes, supporting name, image, and likeness deals where players earn from their fame, funding non-football sports, and making the Big Ten the best all around overall conference. The SEC wants to cap things like NIL and stuff like that. They want to try to get Congress involved and cap things because they're revenue sharing, because they know they can't compete in the future. The Big Ten will have the most money, which will give them the best players, the best coaches, and the SEC news proves that the college football TV market, it's expanding, it's getting ready, it's looking great. So but it also shows that you can't keep milking one network either forever without hurting profits. ESPN will need fresh, high profit content to balance their costs. The one problem is that they're battling with the Big Ten. And when decision makers start looking at the projections, they're going to see the Big Ten has far more to offer and will already be set up for success, while the SEC will be the little shop on the corner that wants to expand, but only has hope to sell to those people that possibly expand to. So the competition between the conferences, it isn't over. Now it's about smart location advantages, diverse markets, and timing the negotiations just right. The Big Ten isn't trying to copy the SEC. They're creating a winning model that offers that others will have to follow as well. And that'll do it for this episode of the Big Ten Huddle. Thanks for being here and listening or watching on the show. Have a good one. We'll see you next time.